Get my agenda up here. And those of us, hopefully this is going to be a quick meeting. Our agenda, I think, is only, what, 1,400 pages?
1450.
1450. I would like to bring Mr. Ted Stackpole up here, if you would, and lead us in our invocation. And Mr. Harvey is going to do our Pledge of Allegiance.
I declare that Putnam County is the comeback county. We ask the Lord to multiply the number of good-paying jobs that will provide for our residents and families. Lord, would you eradicate sickness and disease and release wholeness and wellness into our community? Lord, would you continue to help us meet goals in educating our children and young adults so they will find success in their future careers and provide for themselves and their families? Lord, would you bring healing to our families, which would eliminate violence in the home, divorce, and child abuse? Lord, would you continue to reduce the crime in our county, making it a safe and desirable place to live? Lord, I pray that you would increase the spiritual temperature in our county to reflect a people that would recognize you and your authority. And Lord, I give you thanks today for all who live, work, and serve in and through this community. And today I declare Putnam County as the comeback county. I ask all of these things in the name of the risen Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you don't mind, if you continue standing, please. I'd like to take this time to take a moment of just remembering Robbie Crabtree, who passed away yesterday morning, excuse me. He fought a tremendous battle, and he brought a lot of people to find Christ, and I'm not preaching, I'm just saying he did some wonderful things in his short, young life that he was here. And if we just take a couple minutes, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Lible, if you
We'll
would.
sit down.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. I'm ready. You are. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
I like facing you this way. It's pretty good. Mr. Chairman, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I want to recognize somebody from our Animal Services Department, Mr. Bob Pierce. He's with us this morning. Bob, if you would come forward. I'll tell you real quickly, Bob is an outstanding employee of the county. He really is. He brings a set of skill sets that we are very lucky in Putnam County to possess. He knows he was one of the first, no, you were the first, were you in the Army or the Air Force? And they took animals, service animals, to the Vietnam War in that realm at the time and trained them. And you have been in this industry your whole life, hadn't you? And you're retired in Putnam County, so we're lucky to have you. Now, the reason that we're honoring Bob this morning is you reached out to PetSmart and to acquire our facility, as everyone knows, is in need of a new facility, which we are working on. We're going to discuss some of that stuff this afternoon in the workshop. But particularly the kittens and cats at our animal services facility, they're basically in a storage shed with air conditioning. But Bob reached out and stayed on a grant with PetSmart Charities for months, I would think it took, and he got us $28,000 that was received Friday. With that, I want to commend you. I wanted to give you a big fat check, as commissioner, but our county administrator informed me that would be illegal. But your name is going in the pot for the employee of the quarter, which would be legal if you win that status. Here's your team, Bob.
Yeah, there you go. Yay.
These are our animal services employees, and welcome. Thank you for coming down. This is a great occasion, and so many good things are happening. They really are. And in animal services, I was saying in our workshop this afternoon, we're discussing the facility and where to go from here as far as construction of it. And we also, I'd like to announce we have another in-county adoption event coming up the 29th of June, this month, the Friday. All right. But we're going to do that again. Commissioners, 29th, the Friday. It's the weekend before 4th of July. Let's all get together and adopt out some more animals. We had our participation in the Omega adoption event in Jacksonville last weekend, and we did great, but I'm happy to say that we outperformed those numbers here in Putnam County, and I'm ready to do that again. So thank you to all of you, Bob, especially you. And your wife, Kate. She's part of this, I know, and we appreciate it. And thank you all for coming down. You want to say that?
Get a picture taken?
Good morning, gentlemen. You know, every grant has many elements to it. There are the elements of the numbers, putting things together, the reasons for the grant. All of those things combined make up an application for a grant. But particularly right now before me, I think, is the foundation of the grant. And that is the leadership of Lisa Suarez, our staff, and what they have done over a period of time that has set us in such a good position that we can continue to apply for grants such as the one we received. And it's their hard work, your leadership, gentlemen, in this community that has brought us to the point where we are now. And I'm very privileged to stand here before a most wonderful staff and most wonderful leaders and say thank you very much for all that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob Harris.
Make room for Bob.
This time I'd like to introduce Mr. Bobby Payne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Great day in Putnam County. Glad to be here today with you. I want to make a couple of check presentations today, but give you a little bit of background on where we are with some appropriations we were able to receive from the state. As most of you recall, in 2017, we were able to get $2 million worth of appropriations to the state for a couple of major projects. First was an East Palatka project called Dog Branch Creek, which many of you are very familiar with. It's a project we've looked at for several years. Last year, we were able to procure $1,000 through appropriations, or excuse me, $1 million. And that area is an area that floods frequently. Farmland and residential area. So I say that as we progress to talk about the other appropriations we were able to receive. Additionally, we received an additional $1 million last year for a fire station in East Palatka, simply because the growth in East Palatka, because the lack of services in East Palatka, we were able to receive $1 million towards development of a fire station, and we've worked with the county on that as we move forward. But I want to thank Senator Perry, Senator Bradley, other colleagues like Representative Cummings in the House to help us recognize that we as a community and rural communities have been forgotten to some degree. And so we're moving forward with great opportunities in the next several years to recognize the value and what we need to be doing with appropriations. In 2018, excitingly, we were able to receive an additional $850,000 towards water supplies for that fire station, as well as water supplies for rural and residential areas in East Palatka. That's big for our community because we know as we build infrastructure, that helps development, and that development helps bring greater opportunity to Putnam County. Additionally, we received, very excitingly, $250,000 to advanced manufacturing for Putnam County schools. Now, we know that not all students are college bound, so we want to take some of our children that want to work with their hands, be technically bound to work with career tech, and develop career tech opportunities for them at the high school level. As well, just recently, the governor, through the Florida Job Growth Grant Fund, designated another $1.38 million to St. John's River State College for robotics and advanced manufacturing. So we're very excited about that. Today, I want to present a couple of checks. I don't see the sheriff here, so I'll ask Mr. Greenwood if he'd come up, if you don't mind. So this first check is a request from the county to move forward with communication system, much needed. It is known as a P25 system that helps with interoperability from Putnam County with other counties throughout the state, ability to communicate, new digital technology. And so we were able to, with the assistance of Senator Bradley and others and our colleagues in the House, receive appropriations through the General Appropriations Act for $790,232 for the beginning phases of that project. So I want to present this check. Actually, it should go to the Board of County Commissioners. You guys requested it, but since Mr. Greenwood's here.
Johnny Greenwood, don't take our check and run out of here.
Right. It goes to Tim Smith, the clerk.
It does, yeah.
And finally, just as exciting as we heard Commissioner Leibel speak of just a few minutes ago, we've had issues certainly with the animal shelter that you all are aware of that show up in the paper quite often and sometimes make the national news. So through the request last year through the county for appropriations, we were able to procure, or actually get through appropriations, $500,000 towards the beginning of an animal shelter project. I know that county will have matching dollars, so we're excited about that opportunity, and I want to present that check to the county. I will tell you that these funds become available, and the reason we're doing it in June month is they become available in July. So those dollars will be freed up in July, and our office, our staff will certainly work with the county, with Mr. Reynolds to make sure those dollars are able to be received as soon as possible towards this project. So thank you for that. I'd like to make the presentation, if I could, to Chairman Goddard.
Come on, guys. Mr. Chairman, if I could. Representative Payne stood with us for well over 2 years to get this appropriation, and of course, all the commissioners made this happen with support from this level. And Bobby, we can't thank you enough. This is, you see the morale difference in our animal services team. Thank you.
Yes, I want to thank them for being here today. Folks, this is just the beginning. Putnam County's got a bright future. We're going to continue to work to make sure those things happen. So thank you.
Lisa, come on. Let's get this check. Bring your staff down. Come on down, guys. Come on. Don't be afraid to ask. Come on, animal service. Yeah, come on. Here, you stand next to the box. That's right. Don't forget, Tim Smith gets it after you're done. Come on, guys. There you go. Squeeze in.
Take those fake checks.
You'll take those.
Why don't you come down?
Stood up here and you very soon know what it is.
Thanks again. Appreciate the opportunity.
Mr. Chairman, may I take a point of privilege while Representative Payne's here?
You can.
Representative Payne, I want to thank you for the recent farm aid that you did for the community. You and Leota and Sam were wonderful, and your staff came out there, and we all worked very hard. It was refreshing to see Sam take the ice bucket challenge at the end of the day. But thank you for all your hard work that you did for that event out here. Made a lot of people go home with food that necessarily wouldn't have had food, and we thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner. You know, that was actually the fourth farm share, third in the county. We did that in conjunction with law enforcement. Let's don't leave those guys out. They worked very hard to make arrangements. Farm share is a great opportunity for us, if you're not familiar with it, is to take produce from farmers that would normally go to waste simply because it doesn't meet inspection grade standards for supermarkets. Often thrown in the trash, often turned back into the soil. We can take those foods, as much as 40% from farmers, and give to folks who are in need of food. And certainly we have that need in Putnam County, so we're glad to do it. Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now I'll entertain a motion on the approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead. You go ahead, Larry.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes of May
Second.
22nd, regular meeting, and May 8th workshop.
So we have a proper first, proper second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll now move, we're going to recess our board meeting, and we're going to move to the Port Authority meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes from May 22nd, regular meeting, and the revised minutes from the May 8th regular meeting.
Do I have a proper first?
I'll second.
A proper second? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, so moves. Let's move to any public comment on the Port Authority items. Public comment on Port Authority. Seeing none, I'll close that. We'll move to new business. Seeing none, I'll close that. Old business. Again, seeing none, I'll close that. We'll now close the Port Authority, reconvene our regular board meeting, and we'll move to public comment. Public comment, please try to limit that to 3 minutes. No personal attacks. And I just want to throw out there, if there's any comment that's going to be for the Children's Services, that's going to be our meeting at 5:05. If you can wait till then, that's great. If you can't, we will entertain speaking now. And for now, we'll have Mr. Counts come forward.
Good morning.
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 How do we open this thing here? There we go. You can stand up here. Today, well, good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Chair. Glad to see y'all again. I haven't seen y'all in a while. Get the microphone over here. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Nice little tape job there. Today I'm representing the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I currently serve as Bishop of the Palatka 2nd Ward. We have 2 units that meet here in Palatka. We have a unit in Interlaken, and we have a branch in Crescent City. What we want to introduce to you is a tool that our church has developed that is a free service to our nonprofit organizations to help them get the word out and to be able to share their needs and for others to find those needs and to be able to be of service. So Sister Karen Eubanks is our public relations liaison for the Jacksonville South Stake, and she's our Putnam County representative. And she's pulling up the website now, and she's going to tell you a little bit about that, and I'll turn the time over to her.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So this portal, it basically is to connect volunteers to opportunities in our community. Okay, so many of you are probably familiar with the crisis cleanup. That portal was used to organize people for hurricane efforts, and we worked with our, Mr. Romay, our fire chief, and also Ryan Simpson there, so they're familiar with this program. JustServe.org, pulling it up now, is a different portal, and we believe it will be really helpful for the additional 300 days that we're not dealing with hurricane effort. Okay, so This portal is used to connect people. So what we find is many times when people want to do work, or they want to volunteer, or they want to get their project out, sometimes there is a barrier to entry. In other words, sometimes people just don't know where to start. They don't know how to get connected. So Just Serve is that portal. Pull it up. Are you guys able to see this here? So if I am an organization, a church, a school, maybe I'm just an individual that has a great opportunity to serve others, Just Serve is a place for me to post that opportunity, post that event, whatever it may be. So you can post a one-time event, you can post something that's ongoing all the time, and on this website, you can post that event, and anybody else who gets on the website can see it. So if I have a group of, maybe my youth group at church, I want a service project for them, I want something for them to do, I can go on Just Serve and go, oh, here's what's going on. I can sign up to do that project. Let's see, can we get it? Will you just scroll? Yeah. Okay, so now the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints did create this website. However, it is not about our church at all. It is not a proselyting tool. Using this tool will not bring a missionary to your door, okay? Make that really clear. This is truly about connecting people and opportunities. It is a tool to help individuals, families, and organizations build unity in our community through service. Booker T. Washington said, those who are happiest are those who do the most for others, and that's the spirit in which this portal was created. So can you move down a little bit? I want to give you just a quick example. There you go. Okay. Go. Hold on that. Okay. I'm so sorry, gentlemen. Hang on just a moment. Right there. Click that. So if we put in, would you put in, say, 32131? That's my zip code. Or we can just use plot. Yeah. Click there. The arrow. You got to click on it. Click the arrow. All right, give it just a second. So you can go in and you can choose however many miles. You can, there it goes, finding. So as you can see right now, scroll down for me just a moment. Recently, one of the things that are on this website for Putnam County is the gleanings that have happened. And it happened in Hastings. Several churches came together. People volunteered. They gleaned out of the fields, and recently it was broccoli. And then everything that they gleaned was then given to food pantries and homeless shelters and places where they needed food. Right now, that's just about the only thing on the Putnam County website. If you go to Tampa, if you go to Jacksonville, if you go to any of the counties around, there's all kinds of things. Everything. Mile
radius, and this will bring up.
So the reason we're
107 opportunities within a 50-mile radius.
So if you scroll, if you kind of take a look, you can scroll through all of this. Bishop Counts has a handout for you so you can kind of go and take a look at this yourself. We don't have anything on this website hardly for Putnam County. There's almost nothing represented, and we know in our county we have a lot of need in this county. There are a lot of people that could be helped. There's a lot of projects going on. And so what we've come to present to you today is to make you aware of this so that we can get some more opportunities on this website. We do a basic vetting. You know, we want to make sure any projects that go on the website are actual true projects that need help, and we want to make sure anybody coming to help, those projects are, you know, good, honest citizens looking to help. So it's, you know, it's just in the service of our Maker that we're looking to do this and connect. And it doesn't matter whether it's churches or communities or individuals that go on this thing, but we are absolutely looking for your help in getting these things on so that we can work together and provide volunteers and make things happen. Bishop, would you like to?
Yeah, this is definitely for the community. This is a national. You can go anywhere in the U.S. and look for an opportunity to serve. It's been in testing for the last couple of years. We're really trying to get it rolled out now. This is something that this community could really use. This is a free service to nonprofits to advertise their needs, and also for others to look for service opportunities to go and do. There's a couple of videos on that website if you'd go and take a look at them. They're just a minute long, and they give a little explanation of and tell about some of the other places that have used Just Serve. Just bringing everyone back to Christ. I mean, that's following in his footsteps and being an example, but also his example was service to others, and that's what we are trying to do. Bring all the faiths together. Anyone can use this website. It's free of charge. The church is providing this. It is something that service. I know during the hurricanes we were out doing service, helping others. I actually got lost in it. I got caught up in it for 2 weeks, just going and serving everywhere I could, and the blessings. I can testify to you are immense that come from when you serve someone. And something I want to say is some quotes that I have, but also there is a law irrevocably decreed in heaven before the foundations of this world, upon which all blessings are predicated. And when we obtain any blessing from God, it is by obedience to that law upon which it is predicated. So being Christ-centered, putting back in the center of our lives, going out and doing a good turn every day, being of service to someone, having that attitude of gratitude, and that is what will bring that light of Christ to us and to those that are in need. And that's what this community needs. We need to all come together, serve one another, and this is a tool that I hope that we can use in this community to help accomplish that. And I say those things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment. During the last storms, we ran into some difficulties on private roads. As you well know, debris removal, the county gets no reimbursement from FEMA for going on a private road. And the biggest complaint was, well, I'm a taxpayer, and our response was you need to get it to a public road. So I think if you see that happening again this year, maybe kind of make the website show that we're here to help you maybe move that to a public right away, because stacking it out in front of the house was good for the yard, but not good for the person in that arena. And we tried to get the federal government to change the reimbursement. They're not willing to do that right now, so it's kind of bad. And there's a lot of private roads in Putnam County, and as you well know, so thank you for that.
Yeah, this is and that's the crisis cleanup site that we use for that type of work is a different site, but it is something that it's keeps us very organized. It was quick to use, and it's just a wonderful tool.
Y'all did a great job.
And they're improving it as we go. Those last two storms really were able to improve that too. So, but yes, if we can, any organizations that would like to know more, just go to justserve.org. And we are here to represent. Karen has her email and contact on the bottom, and she'll be our area representative for that.
Good.
If you have any questions at all about it, sidebar, my email address is on there, my phone number is on there. I can walk you through the website. I can give you a detailed information, connect you, so please give me a call. I'll be happy to talk with you about it.
Share this with all the other organizations that you can, those that you know of, that this is available. And we'd like to see it full of opportunities here in Putnam County, and people to start utilizing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Salmons? Okay. That shouldn't be a problem, right? No. Very good. All right, then I have Miss Brenda O'Neill. If you would, state your name and your address.
Brenda O'Neill, 325 Tropic Avenue, Satsuma. I bought some property here about 3 years ago. I moved here from Kentucky. And since then, I've had a lot of problems with the water staying flooded. And I know right now it's not a good time to say that with all the rain. But it doesn't matter if it's rained or not. If there's a drought, all of the water floods down to my property. I'm at the end of Tropic and San Mateo, and I bought the 3 lots beside me. And it just doesn't seem to get any better. And I've called the road department on a monthly basis and can't seem to get any help. And I was just wondering if came up here if it might help.
Well, anytime you make us aware of things, we see what we can and can't do.
Okay.
Let's see, is this Mr. Suggs? Did you have something to say?
No, sir. I just,
Okay.
we're aware of it now, and
We are aware of it,
We'll
and
figure out what we can do.
I can say that for any commissioner up here. If you don't see anything or you're not getting a response, contact us again, please.
Okay.
You
I
know
appreciate your time.
Do you know what district you're in?
3. 3.
It's Satsuma.
Brenda, if you
Well, my address is San Mateo, but it's actually on the border. My address is Satsuma, but I actually live in San Mateo, is what I've been told. It's kind of on the border.
The area of Tropic Avenue you're speaking of is in Terry. He's giving you his card now.
Okay, thank you.
And he'll help you out.
Okay, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. And just let me go ahead and put this in here while I'm thinking of it. It's on Terry's card. All commissioners, it'd be our first name, dot, our last name. That dot's important. Like mine is Buddy, dot Goddard, and the rest of it is Putnam-FL.com. Okay. It's very simple. Well, we like things simple, but that will get to any one of us.
Okay. Well, I appreciate
mine's on that card, Brenda.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other public comment?
Okay.
State your name and your address.
Good morning. My name is Jen Dean. My address, I'm in Jacksonville, so I don't know that you care about that, but I'm here to talk about a program that I'm the executive director of. The program is called TAILS, Teaching Animals and Inmates Life Skills. The program is in county, state, and federal facilities throughout Florida and also South Georgia. And the reason I'm here today is that we, for the last 2 years, we've been trying to get this program in Putnam County, and I'm happy to say we finally accomplished that thanks to Warden Jeffcoat and Assistant Warden Norman. Just to tell you a little bit about the program, we pair shelter dogs with inmates. The dogs live at the facilities, the inmates train the dogs, and then we adopt the dogs out. The program's important for shelter dogs because the top 3 reasons somebody turns a dog into a shelter are training related. And we solve those issues in the program. But the program's also really important to the inmates as well. We are working on an academic study to quantify the benefits, but I can tell you, based on the facilities that we've worked with, recidivism is down for guys that are in the dog program, which saves money for counties, states, and federal governments. As well, incidents of violence is also down, disciplinary reports are down, and the guys learn patience, empathy, teamwork, and responsibility, all skills that they have to have in order to be successful in society. And as you all probably know, there have been some pretty significant budget cuts on the Department of Corrections front, and most of the programs that were cut are vocational and reentry programs. Our program stays throughout budget cuts because my organization funds it. So it doesn't cost any money for any of the facilities to run it, so it's a pretty good deal. But we're really happy to say we brought our first 3 dogs to the program. All 3 of them came from Putnam County Animal Services. I've been working with them for the last 5 years, and they're fantastic. One of my favorite shelters to work with. So I know it's been kind of animal morning here, so I'll continue that. But I just wanted to let you know about the program. If any of you want to come out and see it, we'd love to have you come out and be our guest. We do have visitors come out and take a look at it. And we'll continue to put dogs through. We've put 430 dogs through the program in the last 2.5 years. So, and these are dogs with training issues. We don't take the easy ones. We take the hard ones.
Yeah.
All right?
Congratulations.
All right, so thank you.
Mr. Mr. Leibel, would you like to make any comments?
Just a big thank you to Jen, and I'm sorry I did not see you through Mr. Rulon there. I didn't know you were in the house until later. We had you scheduled to speak, but you came on up, and thank you. And thank you you have done a lot for Putnam County, particularly our animal services over the last 5 years, like you said. And I know it took you a while to get the warden to accept this program, but it's off and running now, isn't it? And, we thank you for doing that here. And
Thank
we'll
you.
support you any way we can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I would like to take the tour, if some of you other commissioners
Oh,
would.
yes.
Okay.
Does that include jail? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that includes jail.
To the outside of the jail.
Okay, gentlemen, now I know you've had a chance to look over our few pages of our agenda. Do any of you have any items you would like to pull or discuss?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No. Was everybody scared out of 800 pages?
800 pages.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say that I had a bunch of questions, and I really studied this big packet, but all my questions were answered yesterday by staff, and everything was fine, so.
We got the Water Management District here and our Edgefield properties on here. We're all happy?
I'm good.
All right.
Right.
I even talked to you yesterday, didn't I? Twice, so, yes.
It was,
I have to admit, I'm like you, Mr. Harvey. I attempted to read through the 800 pages and pick the highlights out, but it looked in line. I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the consent agenda items A through L.
Second.
okay, so we have a first and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, agenda moves.
Oh, I didn't think that would happen.
No, well, if you don't mind, just a second, Mr. Harvey, show them our agenda box. This is what
We cut a forest down.
we were looking through.
Or if you're not technologically challenged.
That's right. Let me throw this
'cause of
out
my
here,
finger.
that they
Couldn't
have
move as
taught
fast.
me how to run through those pages on mine, because I was having a heck of a time. I was having to be at the
Who
big
would think
computer.
that this one would be the most technical one?
Yeah, he needs to teach us all.
All right.
Right. So let's move to Mr. Clerk of Courts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have no items today.
Okay,
We see your
you're
check.
giddy with excitement over there, I see. Okay, so we will recess our board meeting. We'll do a 5-minute recess, and then we'll come back for our public hearings.
Good deal. Thank you.
He's right here. Let's go.
Okay, we'll reconvene and we'll move to our public hearings. And
Right here.
are you going to represent us? Is today your last day here?
Oh, let's not talk about that.
Mr. Chairman, that's unless we bring him back for a second reading of the ordinance.
Yes, I think so.
Ooh,
Just
yeah.
saying.
Is that like 2 weeks from tomorrow? Yeah. I know.
But, yeah, if you'd come forward.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Seems like it's been a big animal control day today. Animal services, a lot of positive things coming out of animal services. What we're presenting today is a repeal of the old animal control ordinance from 2011. It's 2011-01 and proposing the new animal control ordinance. A lot of the big changes in there, we're changing the wording, designating planning development services as the animal control services division, and correcting wording that comes out of statute. I know the Animal Control Advisory Committee spent a lot of time on it. I know John Salmons, who's here today, spent a lot of time on this. It's an ordinance that's been in the works for about 2.5 years, and I think we've come to a pretty good base ordinance that we can move forward with and make some of the changes as necessary as recommended by Animal Control Advisory Committee. So we're presenting this today to be the new animal control ordinance for planning and development services.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recognize the fact that this document is so well done it drove Mr. Salmons into retirement. So, John, thank you. This is 2 years, 3 years or more of your work, and we appreciate that.
Yes. Yeah, I think it was a wise idea to scratch everything and start new, and you did a great job.
Right, and as Commissioner Lible said, I know John Salmons was very instrumental in this, working with the Animal Advisory Committee to get an ordinance together. There was a few strikes made into it, changing some of the verbiage to match state statute, and that's what we want to do. We want to match state statute, and any of the additional changes in the future are just going to be some wording changes or some clarifications to some areas in there. But I feel that this is a really good base ordinance for the county to move forward with, and there's just been so many positives with animal control services lately, and I think this is just really going to help out also, having an ordinance for planning development services, for animal control services, and everything in here. We know where we're going to be at.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. Go ahead, Mr.
I just had one question. On page 17, where we listed in that services board that we needed a veterinarian as well as an animal behavioralist, we're short those two requirements right now, aren't we?
I believe we have the animal behaviorist.
And who do we list on that? James Crosby? Is that our name of record? Okay, well, that's certainly fine. So we need a veterinarian then, pretty much. All right. The only reason I bring it up is because I'm going to work on it.
Okay.
We had one for a lot of years, and I didn't realize that he wasn't there any longer. So, okay. Thank you, Mr. Harvey.
Yeah, Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I have a concern about, and I've said this for a while now, on page 11, it's not a big deal. It's under item H. It's on line 10 of your numbers on the side. And it says if a dog has not been declared dangerous, attacks, and causes severe injury. We define what severe was previous to that. But I would like to see that, that these dogs don't need to be declared dangerous. They just need to be, if they attack somebody, they need to be looked at. One bite is enough for me. But I understand, I appreciate the hard work of the ordinance, and we can live with that and make those changes in the future. But, I'd like to see that going forward. So that's
Right, these are things that we would take back to Animal Control Advisory Committee. However, if it's in statute written a certain way, we're staying with statute, but we can go more stringent. But that's at the recommendation of the board or at the recommendation of the Animal Advisory Committee.
And Mr. Powell, while you're here, also I like the idea that we took out that if the dog is protecting or if it's a criminal activity and protecting, that it's not a dog bite, it's protecting.
Right, in statute, it addresses that through statute, that if it's protecting or you know, somebody's trying to break into a property, that is in statute. So we want to mirror that.
Good. Thank you for all your hard work, Mr. Sammons. Thank you too.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and we're definitely going to miss you.
Thank you. I do want to thank the commission, county administrator, once again. Thank you very much for the opportunity that was given to me. I am really going to miss everybody here. It was hard. But like they say, or what I've met and everybody in Putnam County is, you may leave Putnam County, but you do come back.
That's right.
So I'm looking to that one day of coming back.
So do we.
Yes,
Thank
so
you.
are we. Okay. Well, we appreciate it. Is there any comments on this?
Mr. Chairman, need to open this up to public comment?
Okay, well, we'll do that. We'll open this up for public comment for or against the new ordinance.
There's your blue card.
I'm not going to say a lot, but you guys picked really good people for the Animal Services Committee, and we really went through this ordinance, debated all the controversial stuff, and I think they came up with a really pretty solid ordinance. So, and I'm in total support of it.
Well, that's a good evidence that half of them have quit now. You worked them too hard, John.
I would also, while I'm here, I'd like to thank Kevin for his service here too. He's very easy to work with. He's a problem solver, which we need in our area, planning development services, because not everything fits into a box. So, and Kevin was pretty good at figuring things out to help people out.
Thank you again for all your hard work on this.
Okay, so.
Against.
Do what?
Anybody against?
Well, I was for or against. Anyone? Public comment for or against.
They're phoning in right now.
Is that for or against?
Okay, then.
All right, seeing none, we'll close that portion of it. And
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of staff recommendations
okay, we
to
have
pass
a proper
this new
first.
ordinance forward.
Second.
A proper second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes, I knew. It does move. We're so glad to have a good new ordinance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
Commissioner Goddard, while we got Mr. Powell here at the microphone.
Yeah.
May I take a moment?
You can.
You want to roast them?
No, I don't want to roast him. I just really want to say thank you, Mr. Powell. When I first got here, you were not here. You were off serving our country. But I heard all the good works, and then when you came back from serving our country in wartime, it was a pleasure to meet you. And I remember the first thing you said to me when we started our conversation was, no is not in the code book. And I want to repeat that for the audience. No was not in the code book. We can make it work. We just got to figure out how to do it. And your thinking and has always been, we didn't get everything we wanted when I came over and talked to you about things. Some things we couldn't do. But you really did try to make things fit where they could fit. And that was refreshing for me. I haven't dealt in the past where it didn't happen, but I was really impressed with you. And I regret that you're moving on. I understand why, and I congratulate you. And I look forward to the day that Putnam County does draw you back home, because it does draw you home. And but I'll be praying for you, and good luck to you in the future, Mr. Powell. And thank you for serving this great community.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before you sit down, Kevin, I know it's only been a little over a year that we've been working together, and I say together, but I just want to say it's been a pleasure. You've been a professional at everything that I've come into contact with you, and you got the best interests of this county. And I do wish you the best in your next endeavor.
Thank you very much.
I miss you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, we will move to.
We can't yet.
Oh, I can't?
No, because we have
It's
a
a
10
10
o'clock.
o'clock.
That's right.
That's what we're moving to.
Yeah, it's
But it's not
9:56.
10 o'clock yet. 4-minute recess.
Yep,
We have a 4-minute recess for our 10 o'clock cert.
that's it. You're-
We'll reconvene our meeting.
You got a ghost up there or something?
Bill and I were discussing.
Y'all can't talk
You
about
can't be
things.
talking. That's right.
I'm now running this computer. Okay, so we will have our planning and development for Big Horse Aggregates. And who's going to do the presentation? Mr. Brown, thank you. I didn't see you over there.
Mr. Chairman and Commission, Mike Brown, Planning and Development Services. The first item on the planning agenda today is an adoption hearing for large-scale map amendment 18001. The applicant is Big Horse Aggregates, LLC, S.J. Ficcaro, and Harold and Margaret Trescott. The agent is Carl Salafrio with Environmental Consulting and Design. And this request is a large-scale future land use map amendment of 222 plus acres from Agriculture 1 and Agriculture 2 to mining. The properties are located at 363 Merrifield Lane in East Palatka, which is right on the Putnam-St. Johns County line. Just as a reminder, you saw this project about 2 months ago, voted to transmit this request to the land use change to the reviewing agencies. So this is the second time you're seeing it. And again, this is for the adoption of the land use change. All the subject parcels are currently zoned agriculture. You will be dealing with that in about, as soon as this project's over. There's a companion rezoning for the same property to change that from ag to mining also. You voted to transmit this to the reviewing agencies on March 27th. During that process, the county received no adverse comments from the reviewing agencies. So everybody was good with the proposed land use change. The Section 302.3.1 of the Land Development Code sets up supplemental regulations for any mining activities in the county. One of those requirements is mining operations shall only be allowed on property where both the mining, future land use designation, and mining zoning is in place. Thus, that's why you're seeing these requests. Also, all mines require a master mining permit plan. That comes from, and I will be bringing that forward to the Board of County Commissioners in the near future. I attempted to have it ready for this hearing, but it just wasn't able to do it, but it will come for you. There is a requirement in the code that the Board of County Commissioners approve the preliminary master mining plan with any conditions they may want to see in the final. That also requires phasings so as to expose the least amount of land surface during the mining operations, and it includes a reclamation plan, all of which you will see in the future. This is really a quick overview of what's required for the final development order. And it deals with all environmental issues, geotechnical, groundwater issues, archaeological issues, traffic impacts, reclamation plan, and financial surety that the reclamation plan can be completed. Here's a quick aerial showing the location, and as you can see, it's right on the county line. There is an existing borrow pit on this property. They received approval for that, I think it was about 8 years ago. They intend to basically expand and extend that borrow pit to the larger area, triggering the mining threshold. Here's the existing future land use, both Ag 2 and Ag 1. This, should you approve it, the land use change, this is what the proposed land use will look like. And the current zoning is all Ag. As I stated earlier, it's Ag 1 and Ag 2. Presently on the future land use, neither one of those land uses allow mining. And so the proposed, again, as I stated, is the change the land use to mining. And within the mining land use, clearly it allows for mining activities and reclamation. It also allows for the continuation of agricultural uses, community facilities, and active-based, resource-based recreational is also permitted within that land use designation. Just looking at the analysis of the request, again, as I stated, this is an expansion of an existing borough area to expand to a mining operation. Access to the site is Merrifield Lane, which connects to Wildwood Lane and accesses State Road 207. There's a projection of a maximum of 15 employees at the site, with the continuation of the daily truckloads resulting from the mining activity. According to the application, they're not going to increase the daily output. It's just a long-term continuation of what they're doing today. In 208, there was a roadway dedication agreement between Putnam County and Westwood Contracting for the dedication of Wildwood Lane to Putnam County. And that requires Westwood Lane to maintain Wildwood Lane until paved and gives Westwood access for the mining activities. The present applicants are subsidiaries, or not subsidiaries, but have taken over the responsibilities from Westwood. The drainage system is designed to capture and retain both the 15 24-hour and 100-year 24-hour storm events, which meets county standards and DEP standards. There are 6.67 acres of wetlands will be impacted from the mining activities, and they'll be mitigated. Those impacts will be mitigated through on-site preservation. And the Florida Master Site File lists no archaeological or cultural sites in the designated area, and no critical habitat for threatened or endangered species within the project area has been identified. And I forgot to add, as you recall in the original one, there was a 1.2, roughly 1.2, 1.3 acre parcel in the center of the project that they had not acquired and was not included. They have since acquired that parcel, so that is included in this proposal for a land to be included in the land use change, and is also included in the zoning request. The land use change to mining is the only future land use category that allows mining. Any mining operation must meet the supplemental use regulations in Article 3 of the Land Development Code. The proposed land use change is consistent with the adopted Putnam County Comprehensive Plan, and staff recommends approval of the proposed amendment to the future land use designation of 222.68 plus acres from A1 and A2 to mining. And that same recommendation came from the Planning Commission also, who unanimously recommended approval of the project. Any questions of staff?
I have none at this time, Mr. Chairman.
That's good.
I have none.
Well, with that, we'll open up for public comment for or against. Again, public comment for or against. Seeing none, we'll close that.
I have a question for the applicant. Could I ask him to come forward? Thank you. Good day to you. When you were here before, we had talked about the little out parcel in the center of the property, and you said that it looked like you might have it purchased. Did that purchase go through?
Yes, sir.
Is that piece of property included in this
Yes.
land use now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to offer a motion to accept applicant, let's see, what is it, LM 18-001 and approve it.
Second. 2 seconds. Second.
So we have a proper
discussion,
first.
Mr. Chairman. Do you need 2 motions for one for each one, or do you?
Yeah, the way this is set up, they're two separate matters. Although I will take this opportunity to say, I think we should look at trying to combine these in the future.
Okay.
Okay. Any discussion?
I have one thing. You're going to bring back a master mining thing. How much longer before the applicant can start processing?
Well, I'll answer that 2 ways. They presently have approval for the borrow pit operation, and they've got 2 more years under the threshold for that.
Okay.
I am hoping to bring that back, or at least bring a proposed master mining plan to the board within a month, maybe 2.
I just don't want to let this linger on. I know they're excited about expanding their operations, and we're excited about that. So I don't want it to linger on too long. Thank you.
Okay.
Call the vote.
We have a proper first, proper second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I might, the next one, which is the rezoning, is a quasi-judicial matter. This is the companion case to what you just acted upon. As quasi-judicial matter, I would ask that each one of you put on the record any ex parte communications you have had with any of the parties, which would be the applicant's representatives, or staff working on this matter, as well as after that, then we will ask the clerk to swear in the witnesses that will be speaking on that matter.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lyon?
I've had some communication just a few moments ago, and that's it.
Okay, Mr. Pickens?
I had communication with Joey Froelich and Susan L. Roberts, both of the Planning Commission.
I've had none, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Harvey?
I had some emails with staff yesterday, and my comments were answered professionally. So.
Okay, and I've had none.
Along with that, could I just ask each of you to indicate for the record if any of the ex parte communications caused you to make your mind up before what you heard here today?
No.
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 Thank you.
Okay, so we will now swear in our, let's see, they're not really witnesses.
Well, staff and the applicant, if he's going to speak.
I do. Mr. Chairman, the companion rezoning R18001, I'll try to streamline this. Same applicant, agent, same purpose, except to rezone from agriculture to mining on 222.68 acres. Aerial, same location. Now that you've approved the future land use change, this is what the future land use looks like. And the current zoning is ag, and the proposal is to change it to mining. Again, the future land use designation is now mining, which is the only land use category that allows a mining activity. The proposal, again, is to change the acreage to mining, and that is the only zoning district that allows mining activity. The parcels have direct access to Wildwood Lane County, but privately maintained road. There's adequate capacity on State Road 207 with the existing traffic from this operation, and that is not proposed to increase any, so the level of service is acceptable on 207. There are floodplains within and wetlands on the property. They will be dealt with through the with conditions related as part of the master mining plan or permit. Staff finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and now that you've approved the map amendment, consistent with the locational requirements for mining zoning district. It's compatible with the surrounding uses. Planning Commission hearing February 14th, they unanimously recommended approval of the rezoning. And staff recommends approval of the requested amendment to change the zoning map from agriculture to mining on these 222 plus acres. Any questions of staff?
I have none, Mr. Chair.
I have none.
I have none.
I have none.
Yeah, I have none. Okay. Well, we'll open this for public comment for or against.
If I could, before we
Yes,
do
sir.
that, Mr. Counsel, when you ask for my ex parte communications, is it solely with this party at
Yes,
this
it's
time?
the parties, which would be your planning development staff, and the parties, the applicant. That's other potentially individuals that may have an opinion on it. That doesn't apply. The ex partes apply to parties.
I started with this mine in '08 is my point here. And yes, I did talk to a lot of people through the stages, but this is the latest stage.
Well, for this particular request is what that applies to. So if this request wasn't being made in '08, then those discussions wouldn't apply.
Make sure you and I are square. We're square.
Good question.
Okay. Along those same lines, I got up and had a sidebar with our council. You and I both serve on the Regional Planning Council, and this came before us up there. So I wanted to make sure that if I needed to, I would disclose that. But now it's disclosed that we both have already dealt with this up at the Regional Planning Council.
Okay, yeah.
But
yeah, and again, as those weren't parties to the matter, that's where the line is.
My intentions were to expose those two.
Call the governor. He appointed me.
Yeah. Again, public comment for or against.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Hearing no public
Seeing
comment,
none.
and I move that we approve R18-001.
Second.
Okay, so we have a proper first, proper second. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's good. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
And we will move to appointments.
Mr. Chairman, I'm working on filling my Better Place Oversight Committee. The lady that had left is actually running for office, and I'm looking for someone who can replace her right now.
Okay.
So I have no appointments.
Mr. Turner?
I don't have any today, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lible?
None.
Mr. Pickens?
No, I'm good. Nope.
I have none. And so we will move to our county administrator.
Yep.
Is what?
Signing all those documents. Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith is a busy man this
He
morning.
is busy over there signing documents.
No, it wasn't. We were just noticing.
Really. Mr. Chair, if it's okay with you, I'm going to ask Mr. Press Tompkins if he'd come up this morning, and we're going to talk about the opportunity that the two of us had to go to Washington D.C. a couple weeks ago, and the meetings that we held, and that will be my comments this morning. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tompkins for a brief presentation.
Morning, Press Tompkins, Public Works Director. Mr. Suggs and I had a very good trip to Washington several weeks ago, and one of the highlights, we met with the Chief of the Forestry Service. She just got appointed as the permanent chief. She was interim, Victoria Christensen, and she is top person in the Forestry Service. We had a very candid conversation about the forestry roads, and basically the message she left with us is they were going to look into it and try to work with us the best way they could. They understood the situation, that those roads were owned by the federal government, and they had to work on some kind of mechanism that the counties or cities or whatever could possibly do maintenance on those without violating our statute of not working on private property. So we both left with a pretty good feeling that she was going to follow up. We did meet with her and her deputy chief. I can't remember his name.
Glenn Casamassa, I believe his name is.
And he was going to follow up with us, and we haven't heard back from them yet, but we know government takes time to move, and particularly at that level. So we were very encouraged with that, and we just wanted to let the public know that we haven't forgotten about them out there. We are working with the Forestry Service to see what can be done out there.
If I could, Mr. Chair, just a quick follow-up. Mr. Tompkins is correct. This was a meeting that we set up in conjunction with a separate reason why we're going there, because we wanted to fulfill the obligation and the promise that we made to the folks in the Forestry Division that live in the forest, that we would do all we could to assist them with their issues. And so it was a very positive meeting. The folks we met with understood the situation. We delivered some informational packets to them, and I think we'll get some movement. At the very least, they're aware of the situation and offer to assist rather than do nothing. So we're very, very confident that we'll get some assistance for the forestry folks.
Can I, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I want to drill down a little bit if I can. When you talk about assistance, was it monetarily?
It was a little bit of both. It was they were certainly looking at a possibility to where they might be able to throw some more money at the, as they call, the maintenance of the forest. That was their key terms. They're also understanding the plight of those residents that live out there with the ingress-egress issues that they have. We shared with them the story of our emergency services vehicles that went out in the middle of the night that got stuck, those type of things. And so the direction from the secretary, Ms. Victoria Christensen, was to look into this and see what assistance that we may be able to provide those folks down in Florida.
Who was Christensen?
I believe she's the secretary of the U.S. Department of Forestry.
Actually, her terminology, she is chief of the Forestry Service.
Okay, one last question. Marion County.
Yes, sir.
They have a different, I mean, they have an agreement to do these things.
Yes, they do. And I don't want to speak, but I think Mr. Suggs did talk to Marion County, and they are kind of in the same boat we were in, that they were doing taxpayer dollars on private roads unbeknownst to them that was taking place. So I don't want to misspeak on that.
Yeah, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds with Marion County.
I don't either, but yeah. It has to come up. We share this federal property, and you know, we've been led to believe that just interlocal agreements superseded what you just found out, but that can't be the case. I mean, if they were to be audited, they'd be in the same situation that we're in right now.
That's
Is that what
we've
you're
been
saying?
told. Yes, sir.
Well, good work. We talk about Fort Gates Ferry Road, any?
We no.
I'm sorry.
One thing at a time.
No,
my phone gets burned up every week with this subject.
Oh, absolutely, and we're getting it here as well, Commissioner. We understand that, and we're doing all we can on that aspect as well. This was an opportunity that we had to initiate some more conversation at the federal level for those folks that we knew we had some issues with in the forest, so we took advantage of it while we were there. We're continuing to work daily on the Fort Gates issues.
Can I squeeze in one more question?
Sure you can.
Did you talk about the Department of Interior and this department? I mean, are any of these names you just gave me anything to do with the Department of Interior? Where they get their funding?
Well, my understanding is Department of Agriculture, USDA, is part of the Interior Department. And I don't know how their funding works between the two agencies, but we were told USDA is one of the original 11 departments created in the federal government. And so she understood that, and she realized that, and she said, yes, they had significant budget constraints, but now that she was aware of the problem, she told her deputy chief to start looking into it and report back to her. And we were going to follow up with a letter to him saying, you know, thank you for meeting with us, and where do we stand with some stuff.
Thank both of you gentlemen, and it can't come soon enough.
That's right. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes. Okay. The other issue while we were there, we were very fortunate to go to the Pentagon and meet with the Assistant Secretary of the Army. That's, I'm gonna say, about as high up as we can go right now. And what we met with them about was our water projects that we've been dealing with now for last year or so. The water bill that authorized Congress to give the Corps money for these water projects in East Palatka, Putnam, was on the list. And the Corps now, they have recognized that we are approved or authorized by the Congress for them to appropriate money to it. And the gentleman we met with, the Assistant Secretary of the Army, was actually Vice President Pence's Chief of Staff. So he knew our lobbyists. They worked on the Hill together, so that went a long way. And he said that, you know, he would look into it, that they were supporting the project. It goes from headquarters in Washington down to the Jacksonville district. Jacksonville is totally in favor of this project. They've been pushing it for us. So hopefully, probably not this year, but we're looking at maybe in 19 of getting some monies from the government on this to get started on the planning and design of extending our water system in East Palatka.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Mr. Tompkins, explain to the public how long this has been going on. Congressman Micah started
Congressman Micah
So, yeah.
started this in 2007. He actually put this in the water bill for East Palatka to get water line extensions.
Right.
And it takes that long to go through it.
Well, you and Josh, our federal lobbyists, found it and
Yes,
then
sir.
started pursuing it.
Yes, we did.
And I wish you could have got higher up. I mean, you stopped with the vice president. You couldn't go any further than.
Well, we tried, but they just wouldn't let us do that.
Thank you.
But it was a very good trip. I mean, we had a cram full 2 days. We had meetings all day long, so I think it was very beneficial. We met with Congressman Yoho's staff. We saw Congressman Yoho there. We met with Senator Bill Nelson's staff. They were in full support of it. We met with Senator Rubio's staff, and they're in full support of it. In fact, Senator Rubio actually put this project in the work plan for this year. So not only did we get letters of support, but we actually got it requested to be in the work plan for monies to be distributed. So it's a long, hard trip up there, but I think what we've done in staying on and pursuing it and bird dogging it will pay greatly for us in the future.
Good deal.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I could, just a quick follow-up. You know, Press done a fantastic job, was up there explaining the needs when we were in the Army Corps. He had a great grasp of the project. And Commissioner Harvey, I'm glad you mentioned our lobbyist, Josh Gaviton. Yeah. He did a phenomenal job of getting this in front of the right people. You know, it's a whole lot different when you're meeting with staff, but when you're actually meeting with the secretaries and the undersecretaries, you know, you actually are in front of the folks that make decisions.
That's right.
And it was a last-minute request to get us in front of the U.S. Forestry Department. He had probably about 48 hours to do it, and we got an appointment with the chief. And so I say all that to say he's doing us a good job up there, and I appreciated that. And I think it was a very successful trip. The biggest thing I can say is no one told us no, and that in itself was a success. So thank you, Press, for doing that.
Kevin might work with the federal government one day.
He does.
He does. Yeah, he does. He does. Yeah, he does.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Press. Job well done.
Mr. Manning.
I just want to advise you all that the Cooper matter regarding the Internet Cafe has been resolved, and that matter has been dismissed.
Good job.
Thank you.
And that's all.
Yep, thank you. All right, so we have commissioner comments. I think I'll start with Mr. Lible.
About time. It's been months since you started with me.
Oh, wow.
We talked about the adoption event. I know that our conference, FAC, is going on at the same time, but I'm prepared to make this happen. I won't be attending the conference.
Right.
I'm going to do the adoption event.
Yes,
So
I'll be
good
at the
there. Christian Mitchell, Keep Putnam Beautiful, did a fantastic job Saturday for a makeup date for cleanup. That's hard to do a lot of times, but
Yes.
a lot of people came out and volunteered. We got a lot done, and shout out to her for doing a job well done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for calling on me first today.
You're most welcome. Mr. Pickens.
Just want to reiterate what we, Bobby Payne had, the information he'd given us, and just to thank Bobby and his staff for the hard work in Tallahassee for the last 2 years. And, you know, proof is in the checks over there of what he's doing for Putnam County. We were missing that the previous 8 years, and we've got a homegrown product up there going to bat for us every day. So I just want to thank Bobby for that, and good meeting, and looking forward to our workshop.
Thank you. Mr. Turner.
I just wanted to remind everybody, I'm gonna step on Mr. Harvey a little bit because I knew he was gonna bring it up. They're going to dedicate the post office in Interlochen to Robert Jenkins on Friday morning. So if anybody could attend, I think it would be good for us to be there if we could fit it in. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I think everybody else covered what I was gonna say so far. So. And by the way, you can call on Commissioner Lible from now on first, because it makes him happy, obviously.
Well, see, you struggled to bring up topics that weren't covered yet, didn't you? When you're last, it's tough.
I think you should get to go first the next 2 times.
There we go. I like that.
Yes, sir. Mr. Hart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to say thank you, Mr. Turner, for bringing up Mr. Robert Jenkins from the town of Interlochen. He will be, the post office will be renamed this coming Friday at 10 o'clock, and all of our presidents would be welcomed there. I will be attending a BMAP meeting as my role as the co-chair of the Florida Association of Counties Rural Issues Committee. I've invited Mr. Tompkins and Mr. Suggs to attend with me in Tallahassee on Monday. The conversation is going to be going in the direction of rural counties and BMAP requirements and maybe reductions in those requirements. That's where the conversation is needing to go. That might not be where they're wanting to go, but that's where they're going to be needing to go to, or some other way that these BMAP requirements can be met. So I'll be in Tallahassee on Monday for that meeting, and I've invited our administrator and our public works director to attend. Do want to say thank you to Commissioner Goddard for coming out and cooking hamburger and hot dogs for our cleanup. If you weren't in the Interlochen area for the cleanup, you missed the rousing send-off by Willie Azaria, who played on his trumpet, Charge, and I've got a video of that happening. So we had the best, sorry, I know you were in Boswick, but we had the best send-off of any community in Putnam County for the cleanup. And I want to say this, we had an area over at 205 Lake Ida Boulevard in that region where some people moved out, and they just threw everything out in the road, and the grader would go by but couldn't do anything about it. And Mr. Gass, we couldn't get anybody out there, as you well know. We just didn't have the manpower. And after we did our section, we went over there, we cleaned up. My truck was packed. My trailer was packed as you well. We had to tie it all on to get it up there. But the people that lived in that community came out and thanked us for doing that. It took us a few hours, as Johnny, as you said, a little bit of volunteerism. It took us a couple hours, but it really made that community brighter and got rid of the blight. So, and we were excited to do that. And it's all of us doing a little bit together, worked it out. But I will be posting that rousing send-off so you can see. And the bugler played Charge, and we went off and charged. And again, thank you, Commissioner, for cooking hamburgers and hot dogs. And that was the end of my comments, sir.
You're welcome. It's a shame that we do have to have that cleanup, but it was, I didn't get to go all over the county. I was out in the Interlochen area. But I did look on Facebook, and people are very much enjoying themselves, oddly enough, cleaning up as a group. They were very productive, and it was just kind of joyous working together and cleaning up our county. But it was just a good thing. And I want to, again, I always say this, anyone who just thinks there's nothing to do in Putnam County has not looked very far. there are plenty of things to do, and they're very enjoyable. I mean, there's always something going on in Putnam County, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. And with that, we will recess until 5:05. How you doing today? Glad to see everybody here.
Call the sheriff.
Call the sheriff?
No.
Tell the sheriff to sit down? I'd like to open this up immediately with Mr. Pageant, please, if you would come up to the podium.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm here in behalf and as Executive Director of Lift Putnam, which is a local education foundation that supports children here in Putnam County. Our foundation wishes to thank you for the opportunity to share ideas with you again about a children's trust for Putnam County. And since our last opportunity to talk with you about this issue, our board has met very recently, considered some additional issues that have come to the forefront, and they have asked me to read to you the board's following observations and respectful recommendation. Our foundation continues to be strongly supportive of having a children's trust for Putnam County. Our enthusiasm for this opportunity has not waned one iota. Our foundation is also strongly supportive of giving local voters the opportunity to decide at the polls whether or not we need a children's trust, and if so, if we as a people wish to make the additional investment in our children, which could, if approved, raise approximately $2 million a year for the children of Putnam County. Now, our foundation is also mindful, and I say we or they, our board, I serve at their pleasure, but our board is unanimously mindful that the opportunity to vote needs to be the opportunity to vote after the people have been given sufficient information and time to study this important issue. It can't be just a vote. It must be an informed vote, or the people certainly need to have a fair, reasonable amount of time to study the issue and make what we want to see, and that is an informed vote on the issues. It wouldn't be fair to the people to ask the people to vote on an issue that they haven't had sufficient time to study, analyze, debate, and make a decision. Therefore, the question that we most recently have been confronted with or have entertained is not, are we still supportive of a children's trust? We are. And the question is not, do we think the people should at some appropriate time be given the right to vote on it? Yes, we certainly do. But most recently we have asked, and I say we, our foundation, has asked the question, is there enough time in 2018 to give our voters a fair chance to cast, again, an informed vote on this important issue? And our foundation unanimously feels, and this is our opinion, it is your decision, but our foundation unanimously feels there is not enough time in 2018, whether it be in August or in November, to give the people a chance to study it sufficiently and again cast an informed vote. Now, we've come to this decision, and I say we, I'm speaking here in behalf of the foundation. There are a lot of other folks in the county, I understand, who are supportive of the concept of having a children's trust in Putnam County, but who are also concerned about whether or not this is a fair treatment of our voters. But I'm only speaking here in behalf of the foundation today, but I'll share that information with you. Our board came to this decision after reviewing what transpired in the other counties in the state before they voted on it. And those counties, I think I've mentioned them to you before: Broward, Hillsborough, Martin, Miami-Dade, St. Lucie, Palm Beach, Pinellas, and Escambia. In addition to studying how they gave their public an opportunity to be informed before they voted, we looked at the amount of time and the type of programs that they offered to the public to inform them and to give them a chance, a fair chance, to cast an intelligent vote. We also spoke directly with representatives of similar movements in Palm Beach, Alachua, and Leon counties. Palm Beach already has, as I mentioned, a children's trust. Leon and Alachua counties are considering it in November. They all advise that, in their opinion, 2020 is a much fairer time and a better opportunity for the people to study this, that it's too soon. And when we got more specific information from them, they've had ongoing initiatives and studies for almost 2 years to give the people plenty of an opportunity to learn, debate it, and decide for themselves. If we did it in November, we still would have less than 6 months. And we just honestly don't think that's fair to the people. So, our foundation's recommendation at this time is that you take no further action on our previous suggestions insofar as a vote, or period, whether you put it on the ballot, and if so, whether it be in August or November. We're recommending that you, and I don't know what the proper parliamentary procedure would be, leave that up to your attorney and to yourselves, but we're asking you to either table the matter or continue the matter, or if the only way to properly address this issue is to reject the ordinance at this time due to the timeliness issue. But how you go about that, should you choose to follow our recommendation, perhaps that's one of 3 ways that you might accomplish it. And again, I would add, I'm speaking here today for our foundation, reading for our foundation, but there are other people, well outside our organization who are supportive, who have also expressed the same opinion, that they just don't think it's fair to have this election on such an important issue in the next 4 or 5 months. So that's all I've got to say. If you have any questions, I try to answer them. If you don't have any, I'll have a seat.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Gentlemen, you've heard everything.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes, sir. You can.
Mr. Manning, parliamentary procedure, if we do nothing, we just do nothing and it goes away and we can adjourn the meeting?
Well,
we're not here to really, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Basically, you have a couple of different options. You can, if one of you all wishes to make a motion when there's a proper second, it could be to remove this matter from consideration at this time. That would be voted on. The other option is to continue the hearing on the ordinance as presented and receive public comment in that regard, and then follow up with a motion after that, either for or against moving forward with the ordinance.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So, having heard that,
well,
yes, sir.
Good,
please.
Mr. Chairman. Given the time period, 2020, it's basically 24 months, and of course that could give or take. I would officially move that we dismiss this, as we've heard, and at the time they feel that they're ready, approach us again.
I second that, Mr. Chairman.
All right, is that a good motion?
So the motion is to remove consideration of this item from the agenda at this time.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, any discussion?
Under discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I think that there's also other avenues that could be discussed between here and there. I've been told that there can also be a children's committee or a children's trust formed without taxing authority. So, you know, it may be that may be something that could also be looked into in the next couple of years also, as a children's committee that doesn't have the authority to levy the half meal tax.
I agree.
Yes, sir. Mr. Turner. Okay.
Call the question.
You have a question?
No, I said call the question.
Okay. Well, then in this case, we have a proper first and a proper second, and basically there's no further action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against, same sign. So moves. Meeting's adjourned.
All right. Your hair's falling down.
It's been a long day.
I got hairspray.
We got one more.
Oh, I wouldn't do it.